tell me, what hero do you think gets the least use in Overwatch? Is it Tracer for her high skill floor? Wrecking Ball for his unviability within the one tank meta? Or maybe you're looking at Pharah because of all the hit scan added to the game. Well, in my eyes, it is none of the above. No hero in Overwatch feels as useless as Widowmaker. If you're a veteran like me, you'll probably agree that Widowmaker is virtually useless in the lower ranks, and in some cases, even professional play. So what exactly is wrong with this character? Snipers in video games usually have a terrible reputation. In Team Fortress 2, there's almost nothing you can do against a competent sniper, as no other class is simply equipped to handle him. Sniper rifles in games like Call of Duty are also the same, as if you have someone on the enemy team who is really good at the sniper rifle, chances are that if you don't have a sniper rifle of your own, he will almost never die. So why is Widowmaker considered an easy pick target, while other snipers in games are considered unrelenting forces? Widowmaker has several counters to her. You have dive heroes such as Winston, Genji, D.Va, and these heroes are slippery, can output high damage over a long or short period of time, and cause the most grief for the average Widowmaker, as one moment you're holding down a choke point, then the next an echo appears outside of your field of vision and melts you before you know it hits you. Back when Overwatch 1 was released, Widowmaker didn't have as much trouble. You just had D.Va and Winston as reliable counters to Widowmaker. Now new heroes and their mother can just deal with a Widowmaker easily, and the worst part is, her kit just doesn't allow for defenses to protect herself. You just have to pray you can fire a sniper round in their chest to get rid of them. Now, enough of me talking about why Widowmaker can just die if she misses a few shots. Let's talk about her kit. Widowmaker has her weapon, the Widow's Kiss. Part SMG, part sniper rifle. You hold right click to utilize the sniper function, and when you're not holding it, you can use it as an SMG. You might think that the SMG part of it is going to be pretty good at defending herself, but the reality is that the spread is just too far in between, that 95% of the bullets just don't hit whatever's in front of you. The damage output, at least according to the wiki I'm reading, is 130 damage per second, and that's assuming every bullet hits your target. When dealing with Genjis, the tiny hitbox is just so tiny in that her only means of close range defenses is out the window quickly. The only way you can actually get the entire 130 damage is to get up close to a tank or something and let loose. As for the sniper rifle part of her weapon, this is actually well designed. It's great for long ranges, and it deals about 300 damage for a headshot when it's fully charged. It's a nice balance so that Widowmaker can't just eliminate 5 people in 4 seconds. Widow also comes with 2 abilities. Ability 1 is a grappling hook that she can use for either a quick escape or just reaching a higher area. It has a lengthy cooldown, so if you can get a life weaver to lift you up and save the cooldown time, that'll help if you need to escape right after. Ability 2 is a venom mine, a proximity mine that afflicts any enemy that comes near it and slowly drains their health, dealing 75% damage in the process. It can be good for an alarm system. If an enemy walks into it, or if they destroy it, you will always be alerted, so if you place it behind you where flankers can sneak up on you, you can quickly flee before they get a chance to end your life. Finally, her ultimate is Infrasight. It basically reveals the enemy location for 15 seconds. It is pretty good for combining it with Junkrat's Riptire, so if you're looking for a quick team wipe, you can just count on them. As for yourself, it's also good for easy headshots and just knowing where they are in general. As you've probably guessed by now, Widowmaker's better off in a high up area where most heroes can't reach her, and should never be in the team fight, just behind it, assisting your teammates. Now, where did Widow go wrong? A small selection of maps don't have good sightlines for Widowmaker to easily scope in and pick off enemies. For example, on Antarctic Peninsula, I was basically forced to look down this one sightline, as other sightlines to my left and my right don't have enough space for me to reliably headshot people. And part of Widow's playstyle is rotating your sightlines to keep the enemy on their toes, as they'll never know where you are. But this map just doesn't have that luxury, so the enemy knows exactly where I am at all times and they can retaliate with that information. And I need to stress that if you're caught in a situation where you're in a close range battle, you cannot do anything about your attacker because the SMG portion of the gun just doesn't deal any damage against them. Okay, hi, hello, this is Bro from the edit, and I realized I made a terrible mistake. So I was watching a video and I contradicted myself. So the footage was showing me, damaging the Pharah, and she took a lot of damage from that far away. However, I was saying that, oh yeah, you can't do anything because it does a little damage. And then that got me curious. So I did some calculations, and by timesing the minimum amount of damage Widowmaker can do, basically unloading her entire clip as body shots, and timesing that by her ammo count, we get a damage output of 136.5 damage per clip. So if you unload Widowmaker's entire clip and every bullet hits, you get 136.5 damage. And apparently most of those bullets were hitting Pharah. So this point is really mute, and I'm an idiot. So I'm gonna let past me ramble on about this a little more, just to get to point and laugh, get some popcorn. This is pretty good. Okay, past me, you're up. So you're better off just scoping in, somehow tracking the targets at a high magnification, and then hit your target without fail. So no matter what you do, the attacker always wins due to your low damage per second. When you're not being bombarded by flankers and dive tanks, Widowmaker can really be a huge asset in the team fights by picking off targets from far away and maybe even carrying your team if you're good enough. But she is just useless in the lower rankings because of her poor utility and her inability to defend herself. Heck, maybe even in the big leagues, Widowmaker is just not viable because of poor sightlines, and most of the heroes can deal with her effortlessly. And if your grappling hook is on cooldown, you're basically a sitting duck and doomed to be sent back to the spawn room. So that got me thinking, what would a Widowmaker rework look like? We've had these changes before, like with Symmetra being changed drastically, having different abilities and ultimates altogether. Heck, even changing her primary fire, the way that works. Mercy got changed for her ultimate to become a single-use ability. And don't get me started about Bastion's ultimate, Orisa, you name it. So it is possible for Blizzard to implement these changes, and I just want to stress right now that all these suggestions I want to make, I don't know if this is going to be practical in the game or not. So I might not know what I'm talking about, but I have thought about these things carefully, so I'll try my best to make sure these are well balanced in the game. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's start by establishing what we would need to change. Well, first of all, we wouldn't really need to change the sniping, so let's just leave that alone. Widowmaker's sniper rifle is good enough. That doesn't need to be changed. If we change Widowmaker's sniper rifle, we may run risk of ruining the character even more, and maybe even unintentionally buffing her. The only change I could think of that could benefit would be a zoom key. You'd press interact while zoomed in to zoom in further, so maybe her zoom would be just aiming down sides without any zooming magnifications, but by pressing interact, she would zoom into how she zooms in currently. That way, if you do want to defend yourself by headshotting your target, your view won't be heavily zoomed in. Next, let's talk about her primary fire. This is the part I have really thought about and what really needs to be changed. We need to change her SMG. Her fire spread is insanely high. Now, we don't want her to be a Soldier 76 with a sniper rifle. We want her primary fire to be good enough for defense, but not powerful enough to take on enemies on her own. So let's decrease her weapon spread to maybe about Tracer's weapon spread, and buff the full damage output to 200 damage if all the bullets hit. That way, if the aim isn't as perfect, she could maybe get a final hit in with a quick melee, or a low charge sniper round. The grappling hook. The grappling hook itself can stay as it is. However, I do want to add one feature. What if Widowmaker could latch onto an ally and pull herself towards them? That way, maybe if a Pharah is somehow above her, she can grapple onto her and escape that way. This idea may sound stupid, as it would interfere with the auto-lock mechanisms in place to target the world geometry automatically, but it could open up opportunities for good positioning on your end and on your team's end. Next we have the Venom Mine. As is, the Venom Mine is an alarm system that deals 75 damage in total, over a span of course, 5-ish seconds I believe. You can only place one in the world at a time, and if you place another, the last one you place down will despawn. But what if it didn't? What if she could have more than one at a time? I like to place my Venom Mines on high traffic areas to alert to any flankers trying to sneak into the backlines. However, that always sacrifices my own safety, as I don't have that extra aid to know someone's sneaking up on me. So if Widow could place more than one mine tied to a similar ability charge cooldown Junkrat has, you could achieve both in one fell swoop. And maybe to add a layer of strategy, maybe if you already had one Venom Mine placed, the next one you place down will deal less damage, as a balancing tweak of course. Or, if that doesn't seem like enough, nerf both of them if a second one is placed. That way, you have to design if you want more damage output or more coverage. Moving on to Infrasight, many people disregard Widow's ultimate as useless and only beneficial to her. So maybe her ultimate could be more supportive. How about we replace Infrasight altogether and instead use a different ultimate, one that'll be more useful than Infrasight. We could have the artificial rounds and have Widowmaker reveal all enemies as usual, but also increase headshot damage done by all teammates of Widowmaker's team. Yeah, that's really artificial with no way to justify it at all in the story or her kit. However, I do have a second idea. Ultimate number 2 could have her dodge a venom grenade of some sort, affecting all enemy players that are in range of it. It acts like the Venom Mine, but it does last for 5 seconds, dealing 50 damage per second for 250 damage total. You could out-heal this, but if Widowmaker takes out the healers first and then use the ultimate, she can actually wipe out the enemy team, leaving only the tank. I have no clue how overkill this is. I don't know if it's practical or not, but those are two options. But say we go off option 2, or let's be honest here, an even better option, the ones I listed. I want Infrasight to become a ping ability. You activate it, reveal all enemies for a single second, and it goes on cooldown for say 25 seconds. Maybe more, depending on how useful it is. That way, we can have Infrasight be a more supportive ability to aid her teammates. I would probably bind this ability to the ability 1 button, but it can only be activated by zooming in. So Grapple and the Sonar Ping would share the same button, but they are activated by either zooming in or being unscoped. Overall, I think these changes can benefit newer players, as well as experienced players, without giving the sweats any overpowered tools at their disposal. If you have any glaring issues you'd like to bring up with me, don't be afraid of sharing your thoughts in the comments below. I am not a game designer. I don't know if any of these things are going to be any good in the game, as there's simply no way to tell my current knowledge of the workshop. What are your thoughts on Widowmaker? Do you think these changes could benefit those who want more of this hero? Or do you think she'll become stupid overpowered with these changes? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.